Alright, in this video I'm going to talk about why I think Wilder fans on YouTube are, to me, one of the craziest fan base. Um, and there's many reasons for why I think that is. I know most of you uploaders and people who just go on other people's videos to comment, observe some of the same things that I've observed about Wilder fans. And I'm not saying that it's just the Wilder fan base that are the craziest. There's been other fan base as well of other fighters that have shown their crazy side. But for the one thing that I've always noticed, um, you can trace back a lot of these uploaders, especially, to who they were fans of in the past, and there's this same pattern, right, where they constantly contradict themselves. And again, this is YouTube, man. This is a lot of us, we don't know each other, at least that I'm aware of, and we're just engaging in boxing talk, bullshitting, talking shit to each other and whatnot. So let's not take it too serious. I think personally it's fun. Somebody accuses me of being a fanboy of some fighter, that's fine with me. I don't consider myself a fanboy of really any fighter. Do I like certain fighters more than the others? Absolutely, just like anybody else. Do I try to cover up for their mistakes, their flaws? Well, I would like to think that I don't. I don't do that. I try to call it down the middle. I hate that stupid saying, cliche or whatever. But it is what it is. I try to call it down the middle when it comes to boxing. After all, I don't know these boxers that I feel that I'm more of a fan of because of their fighting in the ring. Do I like to see some of my favorite fighters go out there and be successful? Absolutely. But I've always said that if they lose legitimately, more than likely the fighter that does that will gain a lot of respect from me, and more likely I'll be a fan of theirs as well, because it should turn out to be good fighting. Um, I'm gonna cover the whole negotiating for your fighter, and this whole thing about this whole narrative that I've noticed from Wilder fans. At first, it was not about the money. From a lot of videos I've checked out, a lot of comment sections, a lot of just a lot of observation. I'm not saying Anthony Joshua doesn't have some crazy fans on YouTube, because they do. He does have some crazy fans, but I'm gonna focus on Wilder here. And I'm someone who's been very critical of Deontay Wilder, but I see him in terms of in the ring a little different now, since he beat Luis Ortiz. So let's start there with the whole Luis Ortiz. I've heard quite a few fans, and they'll actually say this is factual, right? This is factual, not opinion. It's facts, right? FACTS. That Deontay Wilder's win over Luis Ortiz was better than anything that Anthony Joshua did and done throughout his whole career. That's your opinion. My personal opinion, no way. Luis Ortiz was not a better fighter than Vladimir Klitschko going into their fight. I don't care about his layoff. Okay, I think that Vladimir Klitschko beats the skin off of Luis Ortiz, and more likely knocks out Deontay Wilder. That's an opinion. You see, that's not factual. I don't sit here and tell you that's factual. That's just an opinion as a observer. So you right off the bat, and I'm sure I'm not the only one that thinks this way. Right off the bat, your opinion that you consider factual, you already have people who would disagree with you. So it's not factual. Right? It's not a factual comment. You're taking comments and facts, your feelings, and what's the truth as two of the same, and they're not. They're just not. This is one of the reasons why a lot of people think your fan base is crazy. Something wrong with you actually thinking that Ortiz, even though I think it's stupid, in my opinion, even if you think the Ortiz win is better than anything Anthony Joshua has done, I think Anthony Joshua has a much better resume than Deontay Wilder, who's had twice as many fights as Anthony Joshua, and he's done, in terms of resume, he hasn't done anything outside of the Luis Ortiz win. Another comment that I constantly hear is, well, you know, if it was Deontay Wilder that knocked down Anthony Joshua, he would have finished him. And they also try to say that is factual, and that there's a lot of hesitation from Anthony Joshua's part because of that, because of him getting knocked down by Vladimir Klitschko, that would translate to a automatic knockout to in the hands of Deontay Wilder. And you might be right, he might be thinking that, but you see, that's not factual. That is not a factual thing. And him saying that he's afraid of losing doesn't mean that he's afraid of Deontay Wilder. There are plenty of fighters that go in the ring that are afraid of losing, and they turn out to be great fighters. Okay, without him even ever saying it, I know Floyd Mayweather, from my opinion, looked like a fighter who was afraid to lose. And for them, obviously, we can see that he ended up coming out victorious in most of his fights, right? In all of his fights. That part is factual because it's on his resume. Whether we think he got some gift decisions or not, he's undefeated. So there are plenty of fighters that go in there and they can be afraid. They can say, look, I'm afraid of losing. That doesn't mean they're afraid of a certain fighter. So that part, you know, being factual is nonsense, it's bullshit, right? Now look, when it comes to the two fighters, I happen to think that Anthony Joshua will beat Deontay Wilder. That is an opinion, not factual, right? Until they get in the ring, that is an opinion, not factual. When I look at it, I mean in neutral grounds, neutral judges, neutral ref. I would take Anthony Joshua to beat Deontay Wilder because I believe he's a better boxer. All right. But I would give Deontay Wilder a hell of a shot of, you know, spoiling the or pulling out the upset. Excuse me, right? Pulling out the upset, and I wouldn't, in my opinion, it wouldn't be that big of an upset if he was to beat Joshua. But I would never confuse that as factual until they actually fight. Right? I would never confuse that as a factual comment. It is just that. It's a comment based on opinion because they haven't gotten the ring. I'm looking at their styles and I can see Anthony Joshua getting the best of Deontay Wilder. Now I do believe in outside politics and shit. It goes on both sides, especially on this one when it comes to Anthony Joshua and Deontay Wilder. So I don't blame Wilder's team for trying to get that fight in the U.S., or at least trying to, right? They're going to try their best to get the fight in the U.S. I do believe that wherever the fight takes place, whether it's in the U.K. or here in the States, in America, it's going to benefit the fellow countrymen, right? So if it happens in the UK, I think it's going to benefit Anthony Joshua. Doesn't guarantee he's going to win, but I think going in, it would benefit Joshua if the fight's close, questionable referee calling, all that stuff will benefit Anthony Joshua, and I think vice versa. I think that if it was to happen in the States, the same thing. Um, Now the question is, because the Wilder fan base have, especially the uploaders, have engaged in this conversation of who's the A side versus the B side, right? So you guys are big proponents of that. You see, you're missing, you're losing the plot purposely, I believe, which is A side, B side. There's no way you could look at the scenario and think that Deontay Wilder is the A side over Anthony Joshua. Even if you don't think Anthony Joshua is a big star here in the U.S., which he's not. He's not a huge star over here. Not yet, at least. The fact remains that Joshua is a bigger star in his country than Deontay Wilder is here in the States. Okay? A lot of that is based on opinions, but a lot of that is also based on paychecks. Okay? Wilder doesn't get as much money as Anthony Joshua. Joshua makes a significant amount more than Wilder does per fight. These are things that I don't like to get into, but the Wilder fan base, you guys love to get into that, and you're missing the plot, your own plot. And that is the reason why a lot of people think that you are crazy. You're a crazy fan base when it's against, when your plot or your parameters of the A side, B side doesn't fit the profile of the fighter you guys are rooting for, then you try to change it around, or you just come up and straight up mislead people by saying that Wilder deserves 50-50 versus Anthony Joshua. And to be fair, I don't care if Anthony Joshua and Wilder decide to fight and they actually agree to a 50-50 split. That'd be fine with me. I can care less what they get. I don't care who gets screwed over the other. But you got to make up your mind. Is this a legacy fight? And money doesn't really matter. Or does money matter, right? Does it matter? Because if it was for Wilder just a legacy fight, and the money wasn't really the issue, they'll be fighting already. Okay? There would be a contract signed for two fighters, and they would have made it. Because if that was true, I'm sure Eddie Hearn and Anthony Joshua would have probably offered for Wilder something like $5 million and say, all right, legacy is all you in for. You're not in for the money. Here's a $5 million pay, flat fee. Come to the UK. Let's make this fight happen, right? But no, obviously, Wilder is concerned about the money, okay? Because even if you guys feel this is an automatic win, Wilder doesn't. Wilder knows the business end of boxing. Anything can happen, right? So he wants to be well compensated just in case that anything happens and it turns out to be a loss for Deontay Wilder, right? He loses his spot with a nice healthy paycheck, okay? So he doesn't share your point of view. And then when that doesn't work out, and obviously I think some of these uploaders are a little bit smart. They're a little smart to realize that doesn't make any sense. Now they're advocating for him to get 50-50 or more money than what's being offered. Either way, it makes a lot of Wilder fan base sound crazy as fuck, and at least in my opinion, and a lot of opinions of people on YouTube. Anyway, I've ranted on too long. You guys let me know what you think. Peace.